How are you doing?
Doing very well. My Dutch has improved 100% since last night. Last night I could say danke. Today I can say danke again. That's 100% improvement. I'm just going to turn my phone off because the last time I was here I took a 5-minute phone call from my daughter and I don't want to do that again. Yes, very good. Thanks for asking. Of course, there are a lot of Pirates and Caribbean fans here, and I think they want to know a lot about this. And of course, the honest is the Gibbs. I wasn't Caribbean the first time. How was it initially? Well, the first time, nobody knew that it was going to be a successful film, so I thought perhaps it might go straight to video or DVD. It hadn't been a successful pirate film since the 1950s. So, but when I got on set, I did think there was something special going on. It did feel like, particularly with Johnny Depp in it, can you imagine, we're all used to Johnny Depp now. But the first time we all saw him going, pirate, silent, we thought, what the hell is going on here? That's a really weird performance. So it was a really steep learning curve for us. But I would never have guessed that 15 years later I would be here talking to you about 5 movies. I don't think so. You did all 5 movies. There are 3 people who have been in all 5 movies. That's Johnny Depp, myself and Jeffrey Rush. But 4 if you count the monkey. Okay, yeah. So you did better than the monkey? No, I did just the same as the monkey. Oh, just the same as the monkey. The monkey's got 5 just like me. Ah, okay, alright. I think we have a question from the other. Okay.
I'm sorry to be there's a lot of speculation going on around what happened to Gibbs in the if Disney would approach you today to make a 2-hour movie about what happened to Gibbs in those 8 years, how would you go?
Well, there's a very good story to what happened. When I saw the first script, I'm curious, I can't find you one. When I saw the first script, there was Mr. Gibbs. At the beginning, there was another character who was a guy on the ship with a little girl singing. And it was a different character, but the read-through, they hadn't passed the part, they asked me to read it. When the writer saw me read this part, he came up with the story. He said, wouldn't it be great if the sailor at the beginning of the show was so scared of pirates that the only way he could calm his fear was to become a pirate. So that was Mr. Gibbs' story. He was in the Navy, he saw the pirates scupper lots of ships, blow them up, people get their throat cut, and he was so scared he thought, I'll become a pirate, then people can be scared of me. So that's the backstory. Whether it would make a 2-hour film or not, I don't know. But I'd be glad to answer Disney for you. Thank you for your question. Yes, you take some time. What do you say? No.
Kan nu niet zitten. Ik kan niet zeggen, je hebt 2 stoelen nodig. Nee, ik heb het eerst genoeg gedaan. Mikkel, nog steeds niet? Hij draagt een team aan bandman. Olivier, wil je aan en ja. Ik heb het nog niet gedaan.
I think in America that happens. I don't know if any of you know, but I have a very small part of the film called Phantom of the Opera. I played a character called Jerry Bruckheimer, who's really dirty and long. A friend of mine when he came out, called me and he said, are you going to play that part for the rest of your life now? So I do try to not base on the people around me crazy. But often they're the best parts of the place, so I do enjoy But I sometimes
En een dwarvenhelm.
because I like food. But Frank Devereaux is my favorite part ever. There's nothing better than playing somebody who's completely insane. Right? Thank you very much.
Hey, we have the next question. Hi. I'm Mr. McNally. Hello. I'm a big fan of Bart Music. I'm a big fan of your character. Your character is probably one of the most funniest characters in this film. I've seen all 5 films that I found most interesting. But the question is, we've seen well, he was only Mr. Jack Sparrow was in the film. There were some rumors that Jack Sparrow was looking at him. So he was Jack Sparrow not here. He was also disappointed. Or you don't know.
Well, first of all, I think the word group is a very good use of the word room. I think Tyler I don't think that's going to happen. But I do hope that Jack Sparrow listens to this. I hate to see a pirate film. Thank you very much.
Kevin,
when the first Pirates of the Caribbean skyrocketed, it exploded. After that, the 2 other Pirates of the Caribbean movies were shot back to back.
That's right, yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I heard a lot about that it was chaos, those 2.
It was chaos. In fact, as we were shooting both of 2 and 3 together, to make things efficient, they rebuilt all of the ships that we were using, and they put it in a big hangar. It's a hangar in Palmdale, California. It's the hangar where they built the stealth bomber. And it's so big, this hangar, that it has its own microclimate, and it has been known to rain in there. You know, a cloud will form and it will rain. So they tell me, I don't believe it. But so we had all these ships on gimbals so that they would move, and green screens so they could put all the stuff in behind. And one morning I came down and stood on the ship, and Keira Knightley said to me, she said, "Kevin, which ship is this?" And I said, "Keira, I don't know which film this is." So we got very, very confused after a while, particularly as we didn't see anything but green screen. So when I went to see the films, I would see this one, you know, like a ship going through icebergs, and I'd think, "Oh, this is great." And then they'd cut to the ship, and I was in the scene, and I thought, I don't ever remember going to icebergs. But so every scene in 2 and 3 was a constant surprise to me.
Okay, but so you didn't have a script or anything that was...
Well, there were lots of times we didn't have a script, no.
Okay.
We had the script for 2, but the third film was sort of coming in page by page, as they wrote it the night before, yeah.
Wow.
Not that it shows in the film, mind you.
And how was it working with some great directors like
Gore Verbinski.
Gore Verbinski?
Gore Verbinski was fantastic. In fact, he couldn't have been more different from the director of the 4th film, Rob Marshall. Because Gore, when you filmed with Gore, you would wake up in the morning and you'd go down to the beach and you'd get on a little boat which would take you around the island, and then you get on a helicopter which would drop you in the middle of a jungle, and then you trek for about 4 miles until you found this dense forest that people hadn't walked in for years, because he loves filmmaking as like an adventure. When Rob came on, I said to him, "Are we going to be having all those crazy locations?" And he said, "No, I promise you, we'll never be more than 20 minutes from the jacuzzi in the hotel." So he had a very different view of filmmaking, both equally valid, of course. But Gore is like an old 18th century explorer when he makes his films. What we call a guerrilla filmmaker.
Guerrilla filmmaker, yeah. And what's personally your favorite Pirates of the Caribbean movie?
My favorite film?
Yeah.
Well, obviously the first one was such a surprise. One will never get again, you know, the thrill of how successful it was. But there are other reasons why you can enjoy filming. I enjoyed the second one most because it had the most Mr. Gibbs in it, which is a big plus as far as I'm concerned. And thank you. And I enjoyed the fourth one so much because Rob Marshall never took me more than 20 minutes away from the jacuzzi. And we filmed for 2 months on the island of Kauai in Hawaii, which is paradise on earth. It was absolutely wonderful. And I was there for, I think for 8 weeks, and I filmed for 8 days. So it was the most extended paid-for holiday anybody could ever ask for.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
Yeah. It's another good reason to enjoy
Mochten er trouwens vragen zijn uit het publiek, in het midden staat een microfoon, hè? Ga er gewoon lekker bij staan en stel je vragen alsjeblieft. If you could play one other character in Pirates of the Caribbean, which one would it be?
One other character? Well, you may not have noticed this, but in fact I didn't notice it until the third film. Jeffrey Rush and I had never had a scene together. And there was some dialogue in the third film where he says to me, "Have you ever seen the green flash, Mr. Gibbs?" And I said, "I think I've seen my fair share." And Jeffrey said, "Hold on a second." He said, "I've just realized we're giving exactly the same performance. So we can't speak next to each other. We'll always have to have Lee Arenberg say something in between us." So he said, "Have you ever seen the green flash, Mr. Gibbs?" And Lee said something like, "Hello, Poppet." And then I said, "I think I've seen my fair share." So I think the easiest thing for me to do would be to play Captain Barbosa and for him to play Mr. Gibbs.
Okay, no, that's a perfect measure. Maybe for the next time, everything can...
All right, yeah. I think
perfect.
so. I'll suggest it to them.
Yeah, perfect.
Hello. No, first of all, I'm a very, very big Pirates fan. If it was for me, I would watch every single night. But my question is, how is it to work together with Johnny Depp and all the other actors on the set?
Well, it's great, and although there's often 5 years between each film, whenever we come back together again, it's a bit like when you were at school and you had your holidays in the summer and then you came back in September and you just pick up where you left off. You know, it's like meeting up with family again after you haven't seen them. Not only the cast, but the crew as well, who've been with us for the entire 15 years. So it's very much a pirate family. And I enjoy it very much. So you'd watch Pirates every night, yeah? Your family must hate you. I'm sure they don't with that smile. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I'm a big fan too. We watch it almost every night.
Yeah.
And my question is, can you do the Mr. Gibbs voice?
Yes, I can. I do it in 5 movies. Oh, do you mean can I do it now? What would you like me to say? Something from the film, or maybe something...
One of your weird sentences.
Slap me thrice and hand me to me mummy.
Thank you.
I like to do other films with my voice, so I say things like, "I am your father, Luke." Of all the gin joints in all the world, you had to come to mine.
Hello.
Beam me up, Scotty. Yes, hello.
Which moment in Pirates of the Caribbean?
Recht in de microfoon praten.
Which moment in Pirates of the Caribbean you think is the funniest? From Mr. Gibbs.
My favourite is actually the end of the third film, which we possibly thought might be the end of the franchise, when Johnny Depp, I'm asleep with my teddy bear on the deck, and Johnny Depp wakes me up which he tried to get in my ear every time, by the way. And then the girl, you know, the two slappers, as we call them, slapped him, and then he slapped me, and then I went off with the girls telling them the story about the sea turtles. That's my favourite moment. Apart from, of course, being woken up with the pigs. Thank you for your question.
So you've been a long time in the movie business, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the first movie you ever did?
The first movie I ever did, can you imagine how excited I was? I was 19 years old. I left drama school, and the first job I got was in a James Bond film.
Which one?
The Spy Who Loved Me. I don't say anything, but I did get to throw Roger Moore a gun. And I shot a man in a yellow, an orange jumpsuit. You know, the orange jumpsuits that the henchmen always wear. The one that says you're going to die within 5 minutes as soon as you put it on. So that was very exciting for me. And, you know, it was a huge movie for the time. And because I thought all movies were that big then, so I got very disappointed when I started to do smaller movies. But it was a great introduction to franchise movies. And Roger Moore was a real gentleman. And very sadly missed.
We have another question.
Hi.
Hello there.
I was wondering, what does a Jerry Bruckheimer production makes it different or better than any other? Because I heard you in other performances, you say, Jerry Bruckheimer, you just have to experience that. But can you explain the difference?
Yes, although I have to say, due to the changes in the way films are made now, this didn't necessarily apply to the last two films. In the first three films, before CGI became such an integral part of big franchise movies, what being in a Jerry Bruckheimer film meant, if you were going to split a ship in half, we went out to sea and we split a ship in half. You know, you didn't do it with CGI. So everything was just on this massive scale. I believed when I started the first film, you know, I thought they would, it's very easy to write, isn't it? A man swings across, lands on a boat, and the boats get the sails come up and it cruises off. And you think, well, they'll do that with models or something. No, we got there, and there are these huge ships. I mean, I was like a kid in a toy shop. Just the scale of everything was so big. I fear now, with CGI becoming so inexpensive, that those days might be over, and it will be a very lucky actor whoever gets to see filmmaking on that scale again. And I'm really pleased I got to see it for 3 movies. But a good question, thank you.
Can I ask
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. A bit of continuing on that,
Yeah.
because I know Jerry Bruckheimer takes a lot of pictures on set and makes these wonderful books. I have a couple of myself. But is he also involved in the whole storyline, or is he just the fun giver to make it that big?
Well, what Jerry will do is he'll decide which producers he wants, which director. He'll approve all the casting. He'll particularly approve the writers. But he will certainly, if he feels that the production is veering away from his vision of pirates, he will come and make his feelings known. But he's essentially the sort of manager of it all. He's also wise enough to know that when he's got a director and a writer and an actor, if you let them do their job, the film will probably be the best it can be. So I think he's very much an organizer and an inspiration. You know, his energy is very inspiring, and he puts his stamp on every film. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hello.
Hello. Hi. I have a question about kind of a hypothetical question. Let's say that the Pirates of the Caribbean movie is being remade. Let's say the Pirates of the Caribbean movie is redone and anything is possible. Would you still play the role of Mr. Gibbs, or would you like to play another role?
No, I'd like to play Mr. Gibbs. I mean, what happens when you're in a film like Pirates of the Caribbean and it goes and it becomes successful for 15 years is when you read the script, there are just lines written. So it's very gratifying if you create a character which you feel is part of the success of the film. Obviously, that's very extreme in the case of Johnny Depp because it wasn't written like that at all. I had some clues, you know, with all of the very superstitious stuff that I had to say. But no, I would like, Mr. Gibbs is mine, and I jealously keep him. And I'm very happy to play him. Or Elizabeth Turner, I might like to play that. Because they tell me I've got very nice legs.
I think you will play both very good.
Thank you.
wondering, there are a lot of stunts on the films. Which one was the most difficult one for you to do?
Well, you know, the very tough ones are, I had a wonderful stuntman called Dan Berringer, and he would do the really difficult stunts. But the worst one I had was in Pirates 2, you know the bone cage sequence? When that was rolling, they tied each of us into the cage, and they found a slope.
Oh, really?
And they hung a camera in it, and I thought they were going to do something like really clever, like have a gimbal and slowly turn it and speed it up. No, they just put us in it and pushed us down the slope and set the camera going. So all of that sort of faces that we're pulling are completely for real. Yeah.
So it was scary.
So that was the most discomforting thing.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hello. Oh look, it's the Slappers. Hello.
The fifth movie turned out real fine and complete. Everything was to a nice end. But what lies in the future for Mr. Gibbs?
Well, I never know until I get the script. But I suspect I'll be explaining the plot to Jack Sparrow again, like I always do in the films.
So
I was rather hoping at the end of 3, actually, when I walked off with the Slappers, that we would start a bar together, but that never occurred. And we never saw the girls again, which is a shame. So I don't know, I'll be as surprised as you are. Thank you for your question. Hello.
Hello.
I must tell you, you see that man who's just left? Show them your sword. He just got me to engrave his sword. That's the coolest thing I've ever been asked to do. Brilliant.
So I was wondering about, in the first movie you are being introduced while laying down in between pigs, drenched in water. What was your experience?
Oh, it was terrible. First of all, we started off with very small pigs and very big pigs, and then we got the medium-sized pigs. But the pigs, it was, by the way, we were supposed to shoot that at 1 o'clock in the morning. But the pigs were very, very excited to be in a feature film. And they wouldn't go to sleep. So it was getting late, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said to Gore Verbinski, the director, why don't I just lie down? I had quite young kids at the time. I have to do this with my children all the time. You shoot something else, and I'll try to get the pigs to sleep. So I lay down with the pigs. And when you lie down with pigs, you don't really want to think about what you're lying down in, because it's not pleasant. So I lay down with the pigs, and I started to sing them a little song that I sang to my children. Shall I sing it for you now? It goes like this. Go to sleep, my baby, close your pretty eyes. Angels up above you, smiling down at piggies from the skies. Great big moon is shining, stars begin to peep. It's time for little baby piggies to go to sleep. Anyway, about an hour later, thank you. About an hour later, Gore Verbinski comes back, and I'm lying with the pigs going, go to sleep, my piggies, close your pretty eyes. They eventually went to sleep. And then we forgot, halfway through the scene, they throw a bucket of water over me, which of course wakes the pigs up, so I had to sing them back to sleep again in between every take. We wrapped at about 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. But at least I have that story to tell you now. Thank you for your question.
I see a few pirates.
Hello, pirates. Mr. Gibbs. Hello, Mr. Gibbs. If you think that's going to get you into Pirate 6, you're mistaken. Can I just tell you something? I love the fact that he's had to grey his hair. When I started playing Mr. Gibbs, I was 46 years old, and I spent about 2 hours in makeup. As the years have gone by, I spend less and less time in makeup for each film, which is a bit sad. Emerald and Giselle. Scarlet and Giselle. Sorry, Scarlet. I'm sorry about that. It's always because I always fancied the other one. What can I do for you girls?
Gavin, you deserve some slapping. Deserve some slapping, yes, 'cause you're here with us right now. Come give us your cheek, please. We promise we'll be sweet, sweet. Gavin,
Brilliant, get off. That was fantastic. Thank you. Another round, please, for Sapphire and Giselle. Scarlett. There's actually a reason I get their name wrong. Is because when we were filming, girls, it's a story for you. Get back here. The reason I get Scarlett's name wrong is when we were filming, we got very drunk one night in this bar, and I started to play like a James Bond villain. And the girls decided they were going to be my James Bond women, and we called them Sapphire and Emerald. And we played those roles all the time in the bar. And that's why I always think of her as Sapphire, but it's, what is it? Scarlet. All right, okay. Thank you. Next.
My question is, what got you into acting? What got you into acting?
Have I got long?
3 minutes.
Okay, I'll tell you what got me into acting. I was at school once doing a maths class, and I was really bad at maths, and my mind used to wander. And while we were doing this class, the teacher wrote a line up on the board that said, "My sunbeams are dancing in the meadow below, where tulips and daisies and buttercups grow." And then she wiped it off. And she called the class and she said, "Can anybody remember what I just wrote on the blackboard?" And because I wasn't paying attention to the class, I said, "I can remember. You wrote, 'My sunbeams are dancing in the meadow below, where tulips and daisies and buttercups glow.'" And she said, "Right, you've got the lead in the school play." So for me, acting was a reward for a lack of application and attention. And I've never looked back since. Thank you.
I got one more question.
Yes, go on. Do it in the microphone so they can all hear.
Sorry?
That's right. She's getting a bit emotional. I think it was my singing that did it.
No, I got stage fright.
Oh, okay, go on. You whisper it to me. The question she's asked me is, what was my experience working with Johnny Depp? You won't believe how often I get asked that question. And sometimes I get bored and I say things like, "He's a complete bastard." Or, "I hate him." But that's not the truth. He's a wonderful man to work with, very enjoyable, and I never tire of watching him playing Jack Sparrow. Even, you know, all day, every day I could watch him acting like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think he's gone again. Talk about a lack of attention.
I don't mind.
Oh well, go on.
Off question. In the history you did I, Claudius.
Yes.
And Cry Freedom.
Yes.
What are your experiences with those movies? Because those were the first part of your career.
Well, I, Claudius was of course extraordinary because I was 19 years old, just after I'd done the Bond film. And I was working with this incredible group of actors, Sean Phillips, Brian Blessed, Derek Jacobi, John Hurt, and it was like a gift to me as a young actor, and I learned more doing that than I had done in 3 years of drama school. Cry Freedom was incredible because I got to work with a wonderful Lord Attenborough, Richard Attenborough, and great actors like Denzel Washington and Kevin Kline, and that was a really enjoyable film to do about a very serious subject. So I enjoyed doing that after having done lots of comedy films and things like that. So it's very nice for me to mix things up. But thank you for your question. You're back.
Yeah, I'm back. But our time is already almost up.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Yeah. Can I have a big applause for Mr. Kevin McNally?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Come and see me at my booth. See you later.
Thank you, Maurice.
Yes, thank you. Ik heb een kleine aankondiging.